I-15's cleared out from delays. I'm actually seeing a pretty good drive between Draper and downtown. Now, Lehigh Freeway slowdowns are all gone from that earlier crash. Looks good. Traffic out of Davis County as well right now. Busy spots, if there are any. Foothills still a little bit slow up around the 1700, 1300 south stretch. And it's still pretty slow along 215 in the eastbound direction of Taylorsville Midvale just before you get to I-15. When Big O Tires goes big, a one-day sale isn't enough. Now through December 10th, everything is on sale. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires, the team you trust. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
Oh, about that sunshine we were talking about earlier, you won't see it for a few days. Clouds are here to stay through Wednesday of next week, with snow showers sprinkling tomorrow through the weekend. Make sure you're tuned in with us tomorrow morning for Utah's Morning News. Also expect temps in the 30s until Sunday, bringing 40s, it looks like, for the new week. And right now in Salt Lake City, on the freezing mark, 32 degrees. At KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I woke up this morning and thought, did that happen? Did that happen yesterday? Dave, you and I live out at City Hall here in Salt Lake City for the huge announcement that the International Olympic Committee wants to get married to Salt Lake City, Utah again for the Winter Games in 2034. I'm so excited. Pinch myself, it is still happening.
Reality sets in. Now the tough work has to start. Mm-hmm. And how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to get it done right? How are we going to improve on the last Olympics we had? Yeah, it's wild. It's 9:08. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Well, he wants to be the next president of the United States. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has decided he's coming to Utah on the campaign trail. And of all places, he is going to be at the Sky Bar in downtown Salt Lake City this afternoon. I've been to the Sky Bar one time. I was like, this is not my thing.
I hear it's super trendy.
It is super. A lot of people love it. Just surprised that that's where he's going. And we've got the scoop on why he's going to be there.
Yeah. Can I tell him why?
Sure.
He's trying to gather signatures so he can be on the presidential ballot for 2024, but he needs signatures, and he's gathering them today.
Countdown. 2.
Well, I woke up this morning hopeful he was gone. Oh, that didn't exactly come out the right way. Okay. I was hopeful that Representative George Santos had been expelled from Congress, like that kind of gone. It was supposed to happen sometime this week, and no, not yet. His seat is on the line after the House Ethics Committee caught him in a bunch of shenanigans with campaign funds. But instead of being gone this morning, I found out he was still talking to the media from the Capitol, and suddenly I felt a migraine coming back again.
If the House wants to start different precedent and expel me, that is going to be the undoing of a lot of members of this body, because this will haunt them in the future.
Ooh.
I do wonder, though, Deb, is this a slippery slope? You booed this guy out that you don't like, and we might celebrate it because this guy seems super creepy. But what happens when the next congressperson is, ruffling feathers or doing something? Can you just start booting people out that were duly elected?
Launch. Countdown. 1.
I'm so excited that the potential for the Olympics returning to Utah is really, we're in a golden spot right now with the International Olympic Committee, but I've seen a lot of confusion from social media posts over this. If the 2034 Olympics in Salt Lake City will leave Utah taxpayers on the hook to cover some of this multi-billion-dollar price tag for this major world event. So we're going to clear that up for y'all. For the 18% who say they don't want the Olympics back, and for those who are worried about the money, Dave and I are going to clear it up, and then we're going to invite Representative John Curtis to call the show in just a few minutes, because he's on the Olympic caucus back in the House. He's the co-chair.
Didn't know that existed.
We do now. A lot of Utah politicians stoked to have the Olympics return.
This doesn't happen without 2002. I think that's pretty obvious for everyone. Because of the people who worked so hard to get the Olympics here the first time.
It really is all but a done deal, that huge announcement yesterday, but a lot of folks a bit worried about the price tag. I appreciate that. I appreciate that we're worrying about that, and we do need to make sure we have some crystal clear answers of how this is going to get funded.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
We are a community that has Olympics in our DNA. That's why this feels so good and why we know we're going to get this done.
That's right. That's Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall reacting to the high likelihood that the IOC will officially award the Winter Games to Salt Lake City, returning the games to Salt Lake after a successful games in 2002, and we'll get them back here by 2034.
Yesterday was big news, small party. But in July of 2024 is when the official news will come. It'll be less surprising. But that's when we're going to have the big announcement party. The official thing will happen in about 7 months from now.
I don't understand why folks are negative, boo to the Olympics. And we know from polling done by the committee that 82% of Utahns poll in favor of bringing the games back. I mean, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz in the air, but there's this 18% of Utahns who are like, nah. And I think a lot of it has to do with their confusion over how the games were funded in 2002. So successfully funded that taxpayers were not on the hook in Utah to cover the costs. So successful that they amassed enough money from ticket sales and sponsorships and broadcast rights that they were able to leave behind a multi-million-dollar endowment to keep the venues intact for the next game. So let's get Representative John Curtis on the line in just a few minutes and ask him from Washington, D.C.'s perspective, how will the feds help financially with the games?
Dave and Dujanovic.
We know Utah relies on KSL for balance and fair treatment.
We provide news and analysis from all sides.
Utah's Morning News from 5 to 9.
Dave and Debbie 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
It's beginning to feel a lot like winter.
For the Wasatch Front, cold and hazy.
And it may soon look like it too.
A couple of inches of snow to the valleys and 1 foot to 2 feet of snow on the mountains.
Be prepared with traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines, mornings and afternoons. And happy holidays from KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I am here to talk to the people who are concerned that there's somebody on your gift-giving list that is just so hard to buy for. Well, I have the perfect solution, and it's the gift of theater from Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do, this is easy shopping, go to hct.org. Maybe you could pick up tickets for Elf, or maybe A Christmas Carol, or maybe you want to get season tickets for that special person for an amazing array of entertainment next year. Clue, Fiddler on the Roof, The Time Machine, The Nutty Professor, The Addams Family, The Magician's Elephant, and Disney's Beauty and the Beast. That's an all-time favorite at Hale Center Theater. And gift cards are also the perfect gift-giving idea. It's time to go online, Hale Center Theater, hct.org. You can do all your Christmas shopping with the gift of theater.
I'm a big believer in investing into what the wealthiest people in the world invest into. But it's not easy to know exactly what that is, and it hasn't always been possible for regular folks like you and I. But that's changing. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you've done a good job acquiring some assets, now is the time to consider private equity. Private equity is ownership of private companies that aren't traded on the stock market and in most cases are very exclusive. Examples could include ownership of apartments or nursing homes, dental practices, solar farms, you name it. Why do so many billionaires invest into private equity? Because of historically low correlation to the stock market and historically higher returns. If you have a goal with your portfolio but aren't there yet, call Trajan Wealth today. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. May require accreditation.
Additional seating open for tonight's Jenny Oaks Baker Joy to the World, a Sacred Celebration with Alex Sharp and narrator Jason Wright. Audiences call it a spiritual feast. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What's going through your mind?
Just pure elation that for Utah and all its people, we can have the games back.
That's Fraser Bullock reacting to the announcement that the International Olympic Committee wants to get married once again with Salt Lake City, Utah, this time to host the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. Fraser Bullock and others have promised that the Games in 2034 will be financed the same way the 2002 Winter Olympics were financed, and Utah taxpayers were not on the hook because corporate sponsorships, ticket sales, and broadcast rights covered the cost of the games.
There's huge money. And remember, back in 2002, the costs were primarily the infrastructure, right? We had to build the Kearns Oval. We had to build the stuff up the canyon, whether it's the bobsled track. That stuff got kind of expensive, but we were able to pay it off because it was so hugely profitable.
Representative John Curtis, co-chair of the House's Olympic Caucus. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. It's fun to listen to you two talk about this. It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Aren't you excited?
I am excited, and hats off to Fraser and the whole team that's made this happen for Utah. I know they've worked hard for many years.
What is the Olympic Caucus? I didn't even realize that was going on back there.
You didn't know that was a thing. Well, there's a lot of responsibilities. One of them is just to educate other members of Congress about the goals of the Olympics and the spirit of the Olympics. But we also work on things like promoting a clean and fair competition, youth sports, and Paralympics as well. And so it's actually fun to be part of it back here.
I think that is an important note, that this is not only it's a Paralympic Games too that we would be hosting. Congressman John Curtis, live on the line. He's the co-chair of the House's Olympic Caucus back in Washington, D.C. Representative Curtis, a lot of folks that I'm seeing, talking about this on social media are very, very excited. There's some, though, who are not so excited. A lot of them worried about the expense. Reading in the Deseret News, this could be well over the $2 billion mark. They have that formula in place to cover the costs like they did in 2002. But talk about the federal component, because I know that the feds stepped up with like law enforcement, and helping funding that and that in the past. How will that look going forward?
Right. So one of the responsibilities of the federal government is security, and you can imagine that's no small thing. And if you remember back to 2002, there were some real concerns at the time. So that should give Utah some assurance. I also think that we really need to double down on the fact that this budget's put together without any local tax dollars, state or local tax dollars. And in addition, we'll actually bring revenue into the venues. And so but there's a lot of good things for Utah. Having lived through the 2002 games, I do know that this will put pressure on infrastructure. It will increase our growth. I think we can expect that people will once again see what a great place this is to live, and we need to be prepared for all of that. And I'm sure our state and local leaders are up to that task, but it shouldn't be taken lightly that this also comes with a lot of people figuring out Utah's a great place.
I remember back when we were kind of ramping things up before 2002, obviously we had the I-15 expansion, the luge. I think everyone remembers that wild ride on I-15. But if I remember correctly, some of those federal funds for infrastructure kind of got supercharged once it was announced.
Yes.
Is there something similar going on? Are there some infrastructure dollars that are available now that we quote unquote have the Olympic bid where we could maybe supercharge and move things forward in a faster way?
So. Yeah, and one example that comes to mind is the double tracking for UTA of Frontrunner, and I think that's something that likely could get pushed forward. And so it does put a spotlight on projects that the federal government would normally help with, but maybe not as quickly as they would otherwise. And certainly I'll be listening to our state leaders as to what help they're looking for and making sure we're coordinating all we can here back in Washington.
Here at KSL News Radio, we covered the announcement live yesterday, wall to wall, that the IOC is very interested in Salt Lake City hosting the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. Live on the line with us right now to help us look forward, because we're still all excited and pumped up about this. Representative John Curtis on the line with us. He's the co-chair of the House's Olympic Caucus. Dave and I just found out that the House of Representatives has an Olympic caucus, and so grateful that you're on it. Did you get on that because you knew that the possibility is real that we'd either be in line for the 2030 or 2034 games, and you wanted to have us positioned?
Yes, let's go with that.
Is that why, or did you get assigned it?
I signed on because I love the Olympics, like so many in Utah. I've seen what it's done around the world. It brings people together. We all know it just brings out the best in us when we watch people compete and we see these stories of people, underdogs, and it's just, I think it really brings out the best in us, and I think it unifies the world in many respects.
I've always wondered, and when I talk to everybody, we're caught up in the moment. Now the work has to get done. Now it's the headaches, and it's actually, trying to make everything work. Is there anything that you see in the future that concerns you, that you want to pay special attention to?
Well, we're blessed that these venues have been kept active and are relevant, and so that's a huge thing over any other location. So I wouldn't say that box is completely checked, but it's not one we will be as stressed out about as other locations. I would come back and maybe point to this concept of the world will be watching Utah, and what will they see? And I think that's just very important. Last time, we all know the world learned that we knew how to volunteer. I mean, that was one of the things that people took away from that. They took away from that we have amazing skiing. I think a lot of people before the original Olympics in Utah didn't really realize the vast amount of how good our skiing was. I remember growing up with a kind of an inferiority complex with Colorado because people would always talk about their skiing but not ours, and that changed in the Olympics. So I think the question is, what do we want them to see, and what will they see when the world looks?
Representative John Curtis, live on the line with us. We know we have just a few more minutes with you, so we won't take too much of your time. I'm wondering how much support you're going to feel if you are there trying to help us back in D.C. push some funding through to double track, for example, tracks, front runner lines or tracks lines or whatever the case may be, some funding for some road construction to get ready for the games once again. Are you feeling a sense of support? I know it's early on, but we're going to need that from your colleagues back in the House.
Yes, absolutely. And early on, you asked the purpose of the caucus and my role on it. This is a perfect place for me. And the caucus has been promoting, will continue to promote all the good that comes from these games, not just for Utah, but for the country and for the world. And I think as a stereotype, my colleagues understand that and appreciate that, and I'm expecting that they'll be very, very helpful.
Any chance any of your friends would get on board with a gondola?
I'm not going there.
Federal funds for the gondola?
You're going to have to talk to your state and local leaders about that.
I'm just saying they'll take some federal funds, I'm sure, if you can free some up. We got to expand the view.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Representative Curtis, thank you so much. We know you got to run. We thank you so much for taking a few minutes.
Of course. Let's do it again. All right. Have a good morning.
Absolutely. You do as well. Appreciate it. So there you have it from Representative John Curtis's perspective, where he sits as the co-chair of the Olympic Caucus back in D.C., which is a great spot to have someone from Utah sitting on that caucus right now, one day after we got that huge announcement.
And he just made some really big news. And I think if we start looking at some of the infrastructure projects that are tentatively planned here in Utah, when you have the Olympics coming, and this benefits the entire nation, right? We absolutely have to put our best foot forward. This fast tracks, literally and figuratively, a lot of federal dollars. So the idea that we could get some hard lines, double tracking for front runner, and we can bypass a lot of the red tape that is out there, that is huge news for us.
Do we think we need any freeway expansions?
We always need freeway
expansions. This might be a good time to ask.
It's fair to ask.
Like making Mountain View Corridor on the west side of Salt Lake County a real freeway without traffic lights every intersection.
I think you're absolutely hitting on it, Deb. This is an opportunity where we need to take advantage of, especially these projects that are already planned. It's just hard to get in line. And when you're Utah, it's easy for us to get, we'll get to those guys eventually. This supercharges it. You can't just get to us at your convenience. We are bringing the Olympics to America, and we've got to get some of this stuff done. This is going to be a huge benefit, or it should be.
It just struck me when you were talking that we need like east-west something. I don't know what it is, but something east to west. So people trying to get from the west side or even the east side to I-15 in Salt Lake County. I don't know what your experience is up in Davis County, what the experience is. In Utah County, we've been reporting on that they've had some issues with that as well. Like, we have a lot of east-west hiccups here. I mean, this might be, as you said, I don't know. I mean, does that feel like we're asking for like Christmas every day for the next 10 years?
You have to. You have to take advantage of this.
Is that how the process works?
And the Kearns Oval is on the west side. This is a major Olympic venue, and I don't think we have the infrastructure currently to handle everything that's going to go on out there. Because remember, 20 years ago, that area was completely different than it is now.
Representative John Curtis just on the line with us moments ago talking about how the federal component in the future will finance and factor into Winter Olympic Games. It'll be hosted likely by the Salt Lake City, Utah, and other cities as well will be involved. Like, we know that Park City was heavily involved in the 2002 games, as we know that Ogden was heavily involved up there with the ice arena. But the IOC making this announcement yesterday that Salt Lake City is prime for 2034.
That was the vision, to build on the legacies on 2002 and create a future for venues and sports program. Games plan, very
and that is to our
compact
benefit.
master plan.
How
No
the
capital
process
investment
worked back in 2002 to fund the games was that it was broadcast rights and corporate sponsorships and ticket sales that covered the cost of the games, so Utah taxpayers weren't on the hook. And in fact, I want to say we benefited greatly from it. Not only was there the best vibe on the planet for the whole month of February in 2002. I want that feeling back again. I mean, it really was this amazing sense of community and spirit. And we were just a town that did not shut down. It was great. But we also got that freeway expansion on I-15 done. And for as troublesome as it was to sit in traffic during that construction period, imagine a Salt Lake County today without I-15 the way it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad. It's hard enough now. Like, I know that rush hour, honestly, it starts at like 3:30 in the afternoon now, on I-15. And I get clogged up in it almost every single day because I can't even imagine if we wouldn't have gotten that freeway expansion out of the games.
Washington works very, very similar to everybody else. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. We are the squeaky wheel right now. We get to be the squeaky wheel. We got the Olympic bid. They're coming to our town. We need to make some noise, and any project that we have that can be federally funded, that can be tied to the Olympics, this goes to the top of the list, no question.
Next, we're continuing to track a really wild story and really quite scary, certainly if you're a parent of one of these students at this daycare in the Draper area, where carbon monoxide was apparently seeping into the daycare, and several of the kids and staff members wound up in the hospital. We've got a live report from the scene next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at our top stories this half hour. It is our top national story from ABC News. Congressman George Santos faces a vote tomorrow that could expel him from the House of Representatives. But he told reporters this morning he won't go down voluntarily.
Because if I leave, they win. If I leave, the bullies take place. This is bullying.
Santos says whether he leaves office tomorrow or at the end of the term, he leaves with no regrets about his policy work, but he's not done with politics.
We also have an entire presidential campaign coming up in 2024, and, I think I've made this very clear, but I won't rest until I see Donald Trump back in the White House.
This will be the third time Congress has taken a vote to expel Santos. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has died. He was 100. ABC News contributor and presidential historian Mark Updegrove says that Kissinger was perhaps the most iconic American diplomat in the latter half of the 20th century.
He changed the paradigm of the Cold War by establishing détente with the Soviets and being the architect of opening China and changing the Cold War dynamic between the superpowers, America, the Soviet Union, and the People's Republic of China. I think that is Henry Kissinger's principal legacy.
Kissinger was a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany. He advised powerful leaders in both political parties for decades. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow really having a day. It's almost up a full percentage point here. It's up 317. The S&P is just flat, basically, for this hour. And the NASDAQ is down about 100 points as we speak. Coming up, 30s today, snow tomorrow, and then 40s by midweek next week. We'll get this inversion out of here, at least temporarily. KSL News Time, 9:32.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and you've heard me talk about my friends at NPS. They've been serving customers in Salt Lake City and the surrounding areas since 1968. A lot of people are asking me, and I was curious too, why are the NPS prices so very low? Well, the business started with a simple concept of assisting other businesses with their overstock, refused and unclaimed and even damaged merchandise, and it grew from there to where it is today, being able to offer every customer the same incredible pricing, 30 to 70% off on any given day. And then the additional specials, it is remarkable. NPS has 4 retail outlets, plus an online store and auctions each week with items from everyday necessities to unique products. Everything from groceries, produce, frozen, deli, clothes, clothing, accessories, home decor, electronics, hardware and tools, arts and crafts, health and beauty. It goes on and on. Orem, Salt Lake, Layton, you're going to love NPS.
Holiday stories from Shane Company customers.
I didn't have a clue what to get my wife for Christmas this year.
I have everything I need.
Then it came to me. At Shane Company, I could upgrade the diamond on her engagement ring.
Bigger and even more beautiful. I'll never say no to an upgrade.
As long as it isn't me.
Upgrade your Shane Company natural diamond center stone, studs, or pendant and only pay the difference from what you originally paid. 'Tis the season to shine. Shane Company. Fine jewelry since 1929.
Get ready, Utah. It's Medicare annual enrollment period. So why not make enrolling easier with United Healthcare? Whether you choose our online tools or over-the-phone support, United Healthcare will help you compare options so you can choose a plan with confidence. This is Medicare made for Utah. Trusted everywhere. Explore our wide range of plans by calling United Healthcare today at 1-855-MEET-UHC. That's 1-855-MEET-UHC. Annual enrollment begins October 15th and ends December 7th, so call today.
Your nearby Elite Day and Night Home Comfort experts wish you the happiest holiday and a $1,200 instant discount on a new day and night home comfort system.
The holidays, a time for family and friends, and you'll be warm all winter long with a new day and night home comfort system. Through December 15th, get an up to $1,200 instant discount with day and night's no hassle warranty on qualifying systems. Go to dayandnightcomfort.com for a day and night Elite dealer near you. The difference is day and night.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR-certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
Get your photos
photos with Santa this holiday season. Jordan Landing Shopping Center, located in the Entertainment Plaza across from Cinemark. Check jordanlanding.com for Santa schedule and photo pricing.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Heather Kelly, how are things?
Well, we've got a new crash northbound I-15 right at 90th South and Sandy. It's blocking the HOV lane and the left shoulder. Traffic is backed up to 106 South, but now I'm starting to see slowdowns southbound I-15 from 106 to 114th South. So we may have a new crash on the southbound side of the freeway as well. The good news is everybody else is traveling at speed at the moment. How do you know if you're getting the best deal on employee benefits? You don't unless you get free quotes from every insurance company every year. Visit shopmyplan.com to get free quotes. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures will stay put in the 30s all the way through the weekend. The storm starts tomorrow morning. Could dump up to 5 inches in the valley, 3 feet possible in some of the canyon areas, the Cottonwood Canyons in particular. Then 40s coming next weekend. The clouds aren't going to go anywhere, however. We'll be lucky to see sunshine by Wednesday of next week. Right now, as we shoot for a high of 38 degrees, it's freezing out there, 32 at KSL News Radio. 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
David Dujanovic, special coverage of the top local story.
Look, we're all celebrating the Olympics, most likely returning to Utah thanks to that International Olympic Committee announcement yesterday. I'm just thinking of those children and those staff workers at that daycare in Draper, and I can't help but think, thank goodness that the staff reacted to get everybody out of the building, because there was carbon monoxide apparently seeping into that daycare. Kids were starting to get sick. The adult workers are starting to get sick, and it turns out there was carbon monoxide, Dave, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness. Oh, thank goodness they reacted.
But surprisingly, in this story, and we'll get more details from Adam Small, who joins us right now, KSL News Radio reporter, is where that carbon monoxide was coming from. Can you give us an update on that?
Right. So in the investigation, I'm sure is still ongoing, but what they think happened was, so there was a contractor working on the building that was using some kind of gas-powered tool. And now they think as he was using that gas-powered tool, this was a throughout-the-day process. It wasn't like he turned it on and carbon monoxide just started raining down the building. This was a throughout-the-day process, because remember the 911 call came in just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So he's using this tool, and they likely think that the gas fumes are just seeping in, raising carbon monoxide levels throughout the day. And then by the afternoon, like Debbie said, you have kids starting to get nauseous, throwing up, and exactly what firefighters credit the quick work of staff who noticed something was wrong. They got the kids out of the building. Thankfully, that was like throwing up is like the first signs that you have of carbon monoxide poisoning. That's like the first symptom. So they got them out. We know 14 of the potentially upwards of 55 people affected by carbon monoxide went to the hospital on their own accord, but it sounds like they're recovering. Like, quick work. It really props to those staff members.
And you were out there this morning. Are they? How's everybody feeling? Is there anybody still in the hospital that you're aware of? Because I know some of them drove themselves to the hospital.
Not that I'm aware of, but I do know that this morning that the school is open. It really seems like people are going back, business as usual. I mean, I can imagine how they're feeling, though. I mean, it's such a busy place. I tried to stop and talk to people, but it was just so busy that, like, but I mean, I have a daughter who's preschool age. I mean, you can imagine some of the thoughts some of these parents
honestly,
are having.
Honestly, I'm thinking if kids were throwing up, my first thought would have been maybe they all ate something. You know, a lot of them, have a snack at daycare, or maybe but my goodness, to think and to know that this could be carbon monoxide and get everybody to the hospital who needed to go to the hospital. Adam Small reporting for us on this follow-up report about this Draper daycare. In a moment, we're going to speak to the fire marshal for Draper City.
Adam, before you leave, you'd mentioned 55 people could have been affected. How large is this daycare?
I don't know the enrollment, but I do know that it's massive. It's a huge daycare. There are cars literally when they're dropping kids off at school this morning. I mean, you got a line around the block. Like, there's a lot of people that go. So the fire department initially told us upwards of 45 kids, all ages 2 to 5, and potentially up to 10 adults. So 55 people total.
Thank you.
We've got Draper Fire Marshal Don Buckley on the line with us right now. I'm just thinking about this as a parent, and just my stomach is just turning. What can you tell us about how the folks out there are doing, and about any CO detectors in the building?
Good morning. Everybody is doing well this morning. They were all treated and released from the hospital early this morning. A few of them had to have some hyperbaric treatments. The lines that you see going into that school are there's two separate buildings there. There's the one that's the main school, and then they have another area of the school which is in the building that was affected, which has the daycare in it. The CO detectors did work the way they were designed to work. It did notify the monitoring company, and when they got notified, they made the calls that they needed to make, and then eventually we ended up getting called due to the fact that some of the symptoms were showing up of the nausea, the vomiting, the not feeling well, the dizziness, and confusion. So,
can you can you explain to us a little bit how this works? If there was a contractor, I don't know if it was a generator that was being run, how does the gas kind of seep in and make its way in?
So I can't go into too many details because it is still under investigation, and we're still looking into a few things. However, the building has two separate occupancy types. So there are regular classrooms on the side that the work was being done. That whole side of the building is under renovation due to a flood that they had earlier this year. There's no students that were on that side. That's the east side of that building. The west side is where the daycare is, and the students that were there, they had been, the contractor had been in there most of the day working, and it just built up over time. It wasn't, as you guys have noted, it wasn't that he turned on the machine and the building filled with carbon monoxide. It built up over time because of the work that they're doing in there. It just kind of kept seeping into the building, unbeknownst to anybody, until it got to a certain level. Now, CO detectors don't go off until they reach a certain level. Majority of the time, that's about between 65 to 70 parts per million. And that's how they're designed to go from the manufacturer that puts them together. And so at 70 parts per million is when it started setting off the alarm panel and notifying the monitoring station at that point.
We have Draper Fire Marshal Don Buckley on the line because, as you just heard from our KSL News Radio, Adam Small, that there was an evacuation and several people at a daycare at the American Preparatory Academy in Draper ended up in the hospital. Some of them serious enough from the carbon monoxide that was building up in the building that they had to be in a hyperbaric chamber and treated overnight at the hospital. It sounds like the school is going above and beyond. I mean, if the CO detectors were working, it sounds like the school is looking into putting CO detectors in, and they're saying out of an abundance of caution, they've purchased individual CO detectors that will be placed in each room starting, it sounds like today. Is that something you would recommend?
Yeah, they've already installed them. They had them installed first thing this morning. And that's out of an abundance of precaution. The building, the one thing that I want to stress is the building is safe. Typically, a lot of folks think that because of there being a carbon monoxide incident that, the HVAC system or heating air conditioning system is putting off CO. That's all been tested, and that is fine. We've narrowed it down to the construction work that was going on. And so to make sure that they've got extra safety precautions in place, yes, they went out and purchased some additional carbon monoxide detectors to pick that up a little bit sooner.
As far as the construction crews go, do you recommend better ventilation, more fans? That's
what we're still looking into, is could there have been better ventilation? We don't know what that situation was at this moment. That's something that we're still looking into at this point in time.
Draper Fire Marshal Don Buckley, thank you for joining us.
We'll continue to follow any information that comes out of this developing story, thanks to the help of our newsroom reporters and producers. Next, Elon Musk ready to launch his new Cybertruck, and Dave is super excited about this. So I'm going to find out why next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're expanding Dave and Dujanovic on KSL.
Now they'll be live on Fridays.
Starting in January, hear Dave and Debbie at 9 and the movie show at 11.
Finally, Friday on KSL News Radio.
You can't expect a policeman to unclog your drain. You shouldn't ask a teacher to change your oil. And you wouldn't want a fireman to clean your teeth. So why would we let politicians take over our internet service? That's just not what they do. Experience proves government-run networks mean waste, corruption, and failure. One example, called Utopia, promised to provide internet service in 16 cities within a few years. But over 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars later, a better name would be dystopia. They say it's almost complete. We say stop wasting our money. Go to nogovinternet.com and tell lawmakers enough is enough. Local tax dollars are precious, and public employees have plenty to do already. Don't let politicians mess with our internet. Paid for by nogovinternet.com, a project of Domestic Policy Caucus.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-330-1991. That's 1-800-330-1991. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-330-1991. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Well, it's going to be that time of year where we all start worrying about what are we going to eat and what that's going to do to your weight going through the holidays. And the holidays should not be a time where you're worried and stressed about what you're going to eat. When your body knows what it needs, it's getting the right kind of fuel to keep you feeling good and being strong, it completely changes your day. Soda Weight Loss can do exactly that for you. First thing it will do is it will get rid of your emotional eating. It'll get rid of your eating with your eyes rather than what your body actually needs. You have your own nutritionist and coach to help you every step along the way. And so two things are going to happen. One, the pounds and inches are going to fly away. I lost 37 pounds in just 90 days, and then they stay away because it changes everything. I'm almost 2 years into the program now, and I continue to feel great and have the energy that I need. You can do the same thing through Soda Weight Loss. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's based on science. As I always say, when it comes to your Soda Weight Loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So check it out at Soda Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, get up to 40% off vanities. And there's more. Get up to 50% off select tools and accessories from trusted top brands like DeWalt and Craftsman. Visit us in-store or online for more deals you can't beat. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. About 11/30 through 12/6. While supplies last. Selection varies by location.
In 400 AD, a forgotten time in ancient America, warrior prophet Moroni must preserve the history of his fallen nation while being hunted by a ruthless tyrant.
Where is the brave general now?
From Freestyle Releasing and Great Scott Entertainment comes
the memory of my God,
The Oath.
My faith and my freedom, my wife and my son.
The Oath, coming to theaters on December 8th, rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. More information is available at oathmovie.com.
Experience low-maintenance luxury townhome living during Nielsen Home for the Holidays open house December 18th, 5 to 7 p.m. Pictures with Santa and warm churros. 227 North 3830 West Point.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Granite School District says it needs more social workers and disciplinary tools because of a rise in violent incidents since the pandemic. A spokesman says the district is working with the legislature to get them. Second, a storm that could help clear the current inversion is coming tomorrow. And third, it's opening day for Snow Basin and Snowbird. Deer Valley and Sundance will have theirs coming up this weekend. We'll look for a high today of 38 degrees and right now 32 in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, Dave is really excited about this, so naturally, I'm excited about it too. But I don't know a lot about it, so he's gonna tell us more about the Cyber Truck. So starting in January, forgot this. Starting in January, you can join us on Fridays. That was random. Our producer is so wonderful. She gives us a nudge occasionally that to remind y'all that we are starting our show on Fridays in January, and she snuck that in the script for us, and I just absolutely caught me off guard there. But I'm super excited about going to Fridays as well. So we'll be Monday through Friday starting in January. It was 4 years ago this month that Elon Musk unveiled the Cybertruck.
Trucks have been the same for a very long time. Like 100 years, trucks have been basically the same. We want to try something different. So I present to you the Cybertruck.
And you're telling me that more than 1 million people have pre-ordered this thing?
Yeah.
I hope they didn't put any money down.
Yeah, I think they put down like $100.
Oh, okay.
But listen, people are excited about this truck. It is crazy looking.
All right.
It's straight out of the Jetsons. It's shaped like a mountain peak. It goes from the front bumper, straight line, to the peak of a roof, and then it slopes down the back to the bumper. Okay. It doesn't look like anything you've ever seen. I'll never forget the announcement, Deb. Elon brings out a sledgehammer, hands it to a guy.
Oh, I remember that.
He's like, smash the door.
I remember that. I'm just looking this thing up. Yeah, you're right, Dave. It is not attractive.
Really wind up. Nail it. Yeah.
What happened?
No dent.
Really?
It's made out of stainless steel.
What?
Wasn't the DeLorean made out of stainless steel? Mike Dubusky joins us right now, ABC News technology reporter. Yeah, what a day. Why has it taken so long? They prototyped this back 4 years ago. They just have never gotten it out to the people.
Yeah, that's right. The Cybertruck, now 4 years delayed. This thing was, as you guys mentioned, originally shown off in 2019 at that very memorable launch event, but numerous delays for this truck since that time getting to market. A lot of that came back to the pandemic and the supply chain issues that resulted from that. But a lot of it also, guys, came back to what you referenced earlier, that stainless steel, very angular design. And yes, the DeLorean was made of stainless steel and went through its own design challenges in large part because of that construction. So, yeah, now 4 years later, we're seeing the Cybertruck hit the market, a vastly different car market than the one in which it debuted. Obviously, it is, a post-pandemic world, a more electric vehicle-focused world, and we've seen other automakers from established brands like General Motors and Ford to startups like Rivian introduce their own electric pickup trucks in that intermediary time. So in some ways, Tesla is kind of late to the party here, and there are some other challenges with this truck as well. Early prototypes have been rolling around that people have captured on social media, showing some pretty egregious panel gaps and some fit and finish issues surrounding these trucks. We'll have to see whether later today they have been able to resolve those issues when in Austin, Texas, the first 10 customers are set to take delivery of the production-level Cybertruck.
Okay, so I've got some questions here. If somebody would never purchase a Cybertruck, but obviously if 1 million people have signed on and put their name on a waiting list, people are interested in it. What are the features that would get somebody beyond this awful, ugly design?
Well, I mean, part of this could be a selling point, right? The idea that a lot of the electric trucks that we've seen hit the market are, broadly speaking, very similar to the trucks that we're used to. The Ford F-150 Lightning looks pretty much just like a normal Ford F-150. That is a selling point to some, maybe a point of detraction for others. If you want something a little different, the Cybertruck is out there for you. In terms of specs, we're going to learn this more firmly later today, but someone was able to capture a placard in a Tesla store a few weeks ago and posted on social media that shows some of the specs of the production level Cybertruck. Payload, meaning the amount of stuff you can put in the bed, about 2,500 pounds. It is worth mentioning that Tesla announced a 3,500 pound payload at the launch event in 2019, so that did go down a bit. Towing capacity up to 11,000 pounds, and the weight is one of those big lingering questions with electric vehicles. 7,000 to 8,000 pounds people are estimating for the base motor of this truck, 10,000 pounds for the triple motor of this truck, which will also get you a sub 3 second 0 to 60 time for this pickup truck, which is pretty amazing. In terms of those other stats, though, that is broadly speaking where the rest of the truck market, the electric truck market, is right now. Again, we're going to learn these in a little bit more detail a little bit later on today during this official delivery event.
So practically speaking, it tests out very similar to the other trucks that are on the market right now. Do we have any idea how much it's going to cost?
So that, again, is a lingering question. At the launch event in 2019, Elon Musk did say that this thing was going to cost under $40,000 for the base model. That's a single-motor truck with probably a little bit less range and not quite as eye-opening performance numbers, but they were targeting an under $40,000 price. Well, a few years later, those price targets disappeared off of Tesla's website, which is probably not a very encouraging sign. Analysts today are expecting the base Cybertruck to retail for around $50,000, which is, broadly speaking, where the average new vehicle cost in the United States is. New cars cost about $50,000 on average, which is pretty expensive, nothing to sneeze at. And the higher trim levels of this truck are expected to go anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000. So it is a premium truck. It is a full-size truck, and again, it is kind of on brand with that part of the market. Big trucks are expensive, and they've become somewhat luxury items. So that is kind of where Tesla is going in this with this latest product.
Mike Dubusky, all I want to see, Mike, is to see if they do any crazy stuff in this unveiling, if they're going to be throwing metal balls against windows or bring out sledgehammers.
Well, we were talking earlier in the newsroom that, like, the onus might be on Tesla to prove its durability now, right? Yeah. Like, the idea that, you know, with the thing that people remember about the Cybertruck is that they smashed the supposedly unsmashable windows in its own launch event, and you couple that with some of the fit and fitment issues that these prototypes have demonstrated, rolling around early. You know, maybe Elon Musk feels the need to, demonstrate exactly how tough this thing is. We could be in for another smashed window moment. We could be in for, I think any number of things. The one thing that Elon Musk has promised is, expect the unexpected with these sorts of live events.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That's great. Look forward to it. Thanks, Mike, for joining us. Mike Dubusky, ABC News technology reporter. And Debbie, you say it looks ugly. It was ugly the first time I saw it. I love it now.
Growing on
All I want is a Cybertruck.
Did he say the tow capacity is 11,000 pounds? Yeah. So I immediately thought of like all the RVs, fifth wheels that I see trolling around Utah roads, and I thought, how much do those things weigh?
11,000 would pull one.
So they weigh up to 20,000 pounds.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, the bumper poles versus the fifth wheels.
I don't have any idea how that works. I mean, anytime I've hooked something up to the back of a truck, it pulls it just fine. Usually it's like a boat or it's a couple of four-wheelers or some snowmobiles. But, I was like, if it's made of steel, I thought I would haul 50,000 pounds. But maybe not. Straight ahead. Why in the world is Representative George Santos still in Congress?
If I leave, they win. If I leave, the bullies take place. This is bullying.
KSL Salt Lake City. Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A federal agency and the National Shooting Sports Foundation are offering a reward for anyone with information on who stole a pile of guns from a Cal Ranch store in Cedar City. Here's KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston with more.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says 3 burglars in black masks and sweaters broke through the front door at the Cal Ranch Tuesday and then got to work in the display cases and gun racks protecting firearms. Sergeant Justin Ludlow with the Cedar City Police Department tells me these men were in and out very quickly. The ATF is the federal agency that regulates the gun industry, and it's offering up to $2,500 for any tips about who these people are. Plus, the National Shooting Sports Foundation is matching that with an extra $5,000. To submit a tip, reach out to Cedar City Police or the ATF's tip line. Peter Johnston, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 2 big health insurance companies, Cigna and Humana, are reportedly in talks to merge. Both companies provide health insurance to millions of Americans. ABC's Elizabeth Schultze has more.
Regulators are going to be closely scrutinizing this deal if it is finalized to see if it might raise insurance costs and premiums for consumers. A previous attempt by Humana to merge with a competitor was blocked by a judge who said that it would make Medicare more expensive for seniors. Humana and Cigna have not responded to our request for comment on this latest deal.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average having a strong up day right now, up 288 points, and the NASDAQ is having a significant down day, 119 points off right now. And our KSL weather, we've got another day of the bad air to endure. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Everybody knows that your credit history can have a huge impact on your life, Amanda, especially when you're just starting out as an adult.
That's why Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU's new Credit Builder Loan is such a great idea. It's a way to build or to rebuild your credit.
All right, so let's talk about how it works. With Credit Builder, UCCU will open an account in your name and then provide that account with a fixed amount of funds along with a small automatic monthly payment. And as your automatic payments are made over time, of course, your credit builds, proving you're a responsible borrower and raising your credit score.
And that credit score is just so important because it determines the interest rates you'll get, higher credit limits, better loan terms because of your credit score.
And by the way, if you have kids in high school, open a Credit Builder loan in their name, and that way they're going to graduate from high school with a good credit score of their own.
It's called the Credit Builder Loan from Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU.
Just call or text UCCU or stop by any branch and start building your credit today.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You know, you're not supposed to have to bend the prongs springs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Right now, all across the Wasatch Front, the earlier crash we had northbound I-15 in Sandy has cleared. All the lanes are open, no delays now. In fact, you're going to have a delay-free commute if you're using the east and west side belt routes, I-80 through Parley's Canyon, or the 201 freeway. The perfect present doesn't always come wrapped under the tree. Treat your loved ones to an unforgettable afternoon or evening of music and laughter with the Utah Symphony. Find your tickets at utahsymphony.org/holiday. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, one more day of gunky air before a series of small storms starts moving the inversion out. We'll see periods of valley and mountain snow starting Friday, going through the weekend. We could see a few inches of snow in the valleys and several feet in the mountains when it's done. And right now, we're at 32 degrees, partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I was so hopeful that right about now, Dave and I would be focused on a House vote back in D.C. to expel Representative George Santos of New York once and for all from the House of Representatives. But this guy, he has more lives than a cat. I'm not kidding you. What I woke up to instead is Santos and on Capitol Hill yapping his gums to the media.
Nobody here's ever seen ethics reports of any other members who's been under investigation. But yet again, changing precedent for me, it seems that it's all fair game. So there we go. They go ahead and release this report littered in hyperbole, littered in opinion that would have no decent cop would bring this to a prosecutor or a DA and say, here's our report. Go ahead and charge it.
He has no shame. He has no shame.
They've wanted him for so long to just resign, just make it easy, and he refuses. He's going down with the ship. He is going to force everybody to take a vote and boot him out.
Now, there's several different investigations into this guy. He was elected by the folks of New York a couple years ago. He's going to serve out his term, and he's finally given in to the fact he's not going to run again. Thank goodness. But the House Ethics Report was recently released, and that's what Congress was waiting for. They're like, we know he's criminally charged in federal court, but we're going to wait for our own House Ethics Committee to really dig into this guy's lies and figure out what he was lying about. And in a nutshell, and emphasis on the word nut. The House investigation revealed, and I'm quoting, a complex web of unlawful activity involving Representative Santos' campaign, personal, and business finances. Representative Santos sought to fraudulently exploit every aspect of his House candidacy for his own personal financial benefit.
I've always been consistent on this. When someone gets accused of something, I do want to see it play out. It's very easy to get caught up in the moment and say, oh, just get rid of this guy. Well, okay, let's see. If he really is guilty of all the things that have been alleged, then why can't we just wait for it to play out in the courts?
Just let him sit in Congress? I don't think...
Everyone's due their day in court.
But Congress has its own set of ethics rules, and they don't have to sit back and let it play out in court. I mean, I think it'd become the fifth or sixth member of the House to be kicked out if he is kicked out. By the way, the vote is supposed to happen tomorrow. And again, this guy is defiant.
If I leave, they win. If I leave, the bullies take place. This is bullying.
One of the things that the House Ethics Committee found, among other things, is they accused him, after they looked at the finances, of faking loans to his campaign from his own personal wealth that he didn't have. So on paper, it looked like he was loaning his campaign. And how convenient when you write out a receipt saying you loaned your campaign tens of thousands of dollars. Then you can go in, and this is what they allege he did, paid himself back. So he made payments from his campaign back to his own bank account, and then used that money that he gained fraudulently from faking those loans and then repaying himself on things like trips fancy hotels that weren't campaign related, and Botox treatments to the tune of thousands of dollars.
And some of this stuff, from my understanding, is allowable. Like if you're a candidate and people donate, you can, dress and buy a suit and maybe, get some Botox treatments, or maybe color your hair, get a new haircut. I mean, that's part of running. It's part of the cost of running a campaign. I would think that's fine. When you discussed, or when you described how he was pretending to loan money to the campaign and then paying himself back fraudulently, yeah, that would certainly be not only unethical but illegal. But are Botox treatments illegal?
Greg, hi. Help me out here. Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst. Dave wants to know if Botox treatments with campaign funds are legal.
I listened to some of the things that he described, including suits and hair color and Botox. I personally, and I've run for office a couple of times, I would never have used campaign funds for any of that. Whether it's appropriate or not is a different question. I personally think it's not, but it's probably also not. Those type of things probably wouldn't have got Santos in trouble had they occurred in a vacuum without all this other stuff that was going on. But even that, I think it's hard to say is related to the campaign.
Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst, jumping on the line with us as I just await this guy's demise, being kicked out of Congress, likely to happen tomorrow during a vote in the House. Greg, is Congress compelled to wait for the criminal process to play out for years and allow him to serve out his term before they can take action? I would think that they could do whatever they please, especially if their own ethics investigation found what they described as rampant fraud.
You're exactly right. And in fact, this is the third attempt to have him removed. If you recall, the House Democrats brought a petition early on after all his fraud was discovered, and they couldn't even get that to the floor of the House. The New York Republican congressional delegation brought a petition, and they couldn't get the two-thirds majority that they needed to have him kicked out of the House. In fact, they didn't even get all of the Democrats. But this one, like you just said, Debbie, is a lot different. It's the result of a House Ethics Committee, and as Dave said, it also includes now what appear to be very clear criminal allegations, and in fact, there are crimes charged against him. So no, they don't have to wait for that. And I would bet, well, I think it's going to be a close call, but I think he's going to be very close to being impeached tomorrow.
Are you at all worried that this is a slippery slope, that when this kind of action takes place before the legal process finishes, that we're just rushing into things?
I think that's exactly why all of the Democrats, or so many of the Democrats, didn't vote to expel him in the last vote. That's why he couldn't get the two-thirds, because of that very thing, Dave. The concept of due process. Is he entitled to a hearing? Is he entitled to a trial? Is he entitled to an adjudication of the criminal charges? But what I think is a little bit different is that there has been that level of inquiry, at least from the House Ethics Panel. They went through a full-blown hearing. They went through hearing evidence and interviewing witnesses and gathering testimony. So in a sense, he had a trial, or at least the equivalency of a trial in the House Ethics Panel. Certainly, it can't result in criminal sanctions, and it's not a criminal trial. But boy, is it enough to have him expelled from the House? It probably is.
Nor was he. Is he able to defend himself, or does he hire a lawyer to push back in these ethics investigations? Do you know?
Yes, and in fact, he is. He's been very defiant, and he said, I think the last interview I saw that he gave, he said he thought he would be expelled, but he was taking a lot of shots at the House Republicans and others for doing what they've done. But yes, he's entitled to have representation, and including legal representation in all steps of these proceedings, and I'm sure that he does.
Yep. Well, if I recall my read of the 56-page House Ethics Report, they offered him an opportunity many times, and that he was very defiant in terms of answering questions from the House Ethics Committee. So not sure he took advantage of all of the opportunities that they gave him to testify or defend himself. Greg Skordas, as always, we so appreciate your time. Greg Skordas, he's our KSL legal analyst. You can hear him quite often at KSL at night from 7 to 9, talking politics and, legal stuff at KSL at night. And we'll watch for that House vote. I will be watching that for sure for tomorrow.
Yeah, and he said, I've done the math. It doesn't look good for me. That's what George Santos has said. I think it might be surprising. I think at the end of the day, there might be a lot more people that are nervous about this slippery slope nature of this, of expelling somebody from Congress. There might be some representatives that get cold feet and maybe let this guy stay.
That's curious to me, because with Congress at a low point in terms of popularity and trust, you'd think that this would be the guy they'd want to stand up and say, yeah, let's get rid of him.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Treat yourself to the depth and analysis on Inside Sources.
Floyd Matheson goes beyond the headlines of the biggest stories.
Listen to Inside Sources from 1 to 3
on KSL News Radio.
The Olympics are returning to Salt Lake City.
We invite Salt Lake City to host the Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games.
Utah is now the preferred host for the Games in 2034.
The next 10 years is Utah's 10 years. This is us.
Find out what happens next as Utah finalizes its historic position for 2034.
Congratulations, Utah.
We have updates mornings and afternoons and analysis during the Games. Salt Lake City 2034 on KSL News Radio.
Hey guys, Alex Curie for Alpine Home Medical. You've heard me talking about Alpine Home Medical for years and about how great of a service that they provide to our community when it comes to getting you your at-home medical needs. Well, I got some great news. They've been talking about it for a while. They've been excited to announce it, and it's finally here. It is a brand new store in Tooele, Utah. Yes, they have brick and mortar stores all across the Wasatch Front, but they're excited to be able to bring this one to the heart of Tooele. It's just north of the Walmart off of Main Street, and the store's just going to be just like every one of the stores that they have at Alpine Home Medical, offering a massive selection of home medical supplies. Do you need a CPAP machine? Great, they've got it. Do you need a power scooter? Great, they'll take care of you. Need assistance in your home? They're going to get it set up for you, and they're going to do it the Alpine Home Medical way, which is the highest quality that you can get. Expect the best from Alpine because that's what you deserve. They accept most major insurances and can work directly with your provider to be able to make sure you get exactly what you need. And now they're excited to provide everybody out in Tooele with that same service. So visit them online, alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Well, it's getting to be that time of year where we all start worrying about what are we going to eat and what that's going to do to your weight going through the holidays. And the holidays should not be a time where you're worried and stressed about what you're going to eat. When your body knows what it needs, it's getting the right kind of fuel to keep you feeling good and being strong, it completely changes your day. Soda Weight Loss can do exactly that for you. First thing it will do is it will get rid of your emotional eating. It'll get rid of your eating with your eyes rather than what your body actually needs. You have your own nutritionist and coach to help you every step along the way. And so two things are going to happen. One, the pounds and inches are going to fly away. I lost 37 pounds in just 90 days, and then they stay away because it changes everything. I'm almost 2 years into the program now, and I continue to feel great and have the energy that I need. You can do the same thing through Soda Weight Loss. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's based on science. As I always say, when it comes to your Soda Weight Loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So check it out at Soda Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Have you heard? The Xfinity Mobile Black Friday sale is on now. Don't miss out on a free line of unlimited for 2 years when you switch to Xfinity Internet. That's over $1,000 in savings. Plus, see how to get up to $800 off an eligible 5G phone. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services. Now through December 5th, new customers can get a free line of unlimited intro mobile for 2 years with Xfinity Fast Internet. Plus, see how you can save even more with up to $800 off the latest 5G phones. It's your chance to get connected to the fastest mobile service with 5G cellular and millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. This offer won't last. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply to service and devices. Actual internet speeds vary. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Reduced mobile speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Join KSL on the movie show this Friday from 9 to noon at My Hearing Center's 8941 South, 700 East, Suite 203 in Sandy.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, federal authorities and a gun rights group are offering significant reward money for information in the theft of dozens of guns from a store in Cedar City. Second, two big health insurance companies are talking about a merger, but they'll have to satisfy federal regulators before they can go ahead. And third, Hamas claiming responsibility for another deadly attack on Israeli civilians. Right now, 32 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This new really catchy two-word phrase caught my eye this morning while I was doom scrolling headlines. And I was like, whoa, what is this? It's called doom spending. Ever heard of it before, Dave?
No. If I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not entirely certain I know what doom scrolling is.
It's like when you just endlessly scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll.
Oh, okay, I do that. Yeah, I doom scroll.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I know you know exactly what doom scrolling is.
I may not know what the word means, but I have definitely done that.
Mm-hmm. Like you're just mesmerized by nothingness on the screen.
Yep.
Well, doom spending, think of it this way. It's like it's rampant spending. Like maybe sometimes there's like an attachment to, feeling good when you spend or, wanting to fill up your house with stuff you don't really need. But doom spending is rampant, and Gen Zers are driving the trend, according to this news article that I caught on, I think it was CNBC.
Okay. There's a couple reasons I think this is happening. Number one, because I'm an epic doom scroller, is because it's really good advertising. Like all the stuff that is out there, all the little short commercials they make and the endorsements that happen, they are really, really good. And I think the marketing has changed so much that we look at it and we're like, oh, I can't live without that. I can't live without the spinning cleaning brush.
So where my head went when I saw this and the age group that it's really impacting, which is Gen Zers, is 1995 to those born between 95 and 2012. Well, my kids are right in that zone. My kids are in their 20s now, and they are right in that zone. And I've thought to myself, what is driving this population, this demographic, to doom spend? And there's a few other things that were pointed out in the CNBC story that piqued my interest, my curiosity, and that is that they feel hopeless. Wouldn't you if you figured out, if you just learned your first home was going to cost you $700,000?
Yeah. It would be. You'd look at it and think, I will never be able to achieve that. The amount of money you have to make to afford a home, and there's a lot of really good information on this. You have to make like $130,000 to be able to afford a home right now in this market. Now, if you're a single person and you don't have a dual income, that is a really big time job, making $130K.
Dave and I talking about this new phrase that we learned that I feel is going, maybe impacting my own kids. It's doom spending. It's considered to be one way to cope with stress as economic fears mount and live in the moment. 73% of Gen Zers say they would rather live in the moment, according to a recent study. I do feel like if they're looking at a $700,000 price tag for their first home, that feels unattainable. A new car, I mean, I know it's like buy used. Okay, well, if they wanted to ever buy a new car one day, well, we just talked about the Cybertruck, but new cars are $40,000 to $50,000, and we know that more than 50% of Gen Zers, those in their 20s, are living paycheck to paycheck. Almost 50% of them have taken a side hustle to pay their bills. So there's this feeling of they're just overwhelmed. So I'll just give up and go spend the money.
Well, saving is not fun. No one has ever enjoyed saving. It's always funner to spend. Alexi joins us right now. She's one of our producers here on the show. Smack dab in the Gen Z life. Do you find yourself doom scrolling?
Doom scrolling, yes.
Doom spending, though?
Doom spending more, so.
Okay,
yes.
so walk us through what, in your view, doom spending is and what you're buying while you're doom spending.
In my opinion, I think doom spending is the result of what you were saying of being overwhelmed. And just from personal experience, I do work 2 jobs. The entirety of last month, I was working 7 days a week. And still, it feels like I am working paycheck to paycheck. So I think doom spending is the result of feeling exhausted and just not having maybe the wherewithal to feel the reward of all your 7 days of work, your entire month of working, and all of your exhaustion go into spending or to savings. It's not exactly rewarding in that present moment. And so you're looking for something that's going to give you a little bit of like pride
like
and
an outlet.
happy. Yes, an outlet in a way that you're like, I'm really tired. I'm working all the time. I don't know what I'm working for. I'm not going to be able to buy a house. I can't afford to take on debt to go to college to pursue more education. It does feel a little bit hopeless, so you spend your money on small things. I have a problem with thrift shopping because it's cheap and it's affordable, and it fulfills that little tiny little desire for some sort of reward for all of your hard work. And then I compile a bunch of thrifted clothes that I recycle and thrift again and again and again because it's a small reward for my working all the time when it feels like I can never, if I put that money in savings, where's it going? You know, that's
what
how
are you
it
going to
feels.
eventually save for? Because $700,000 is a
It's not
hefty
exactly a
bill.
realistic goal for me.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Well,
Wow.
I don't think you're alone. I think this is what your generation is dealing with, and I think we've all dealt with this on some level. It is worse for you in your generation, especially financially speaking, when it comes to homes. It's just far more expensive than it was when we were doing it. So I can't put myself there because I know right now, having worked for 30 years, I couldn't buy a home right now. I mean, that it would just be incredibly difficult. So I feel the pain, and I think maybe the outlet is, well, let's just buy some stuff because I know I like buying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that those of us who aren't Gen Zers, who are far older than you, can learn from this new word called doom spending, and that 73% of Gen Zers say they would rather live in the moment? What can we take away from this?
I don't want the idea of doom spending and the idea of Gen Z being reckless to be thrown around because I know that it is probably impulsive spending, but I don't want the root of the issue to be ignored. So I think that I don't want to skip the fact that housing is almost it's like an impossible vision for people my age. I don't want the root of the problem of wages haven't increased. You know, I don't want that all to be ignored and focus on the fact that Gen Z is buying things. Because to me, it's the result of trying to fill this kind of hopeless void that you have about your future. And I think the problem should be addressing that before addressing shaming anybody for doom spending.
Well, Alexi, thanks for sharing that.
That was very poignant. Thank you. Thank you for opening my eyes. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a conversation that I have to open up with my own kids after seeing this poll this morning and this information, Alexi. And I'm sorry that this is the kind of the feeling. And we know it's not just you. If 73% are responding to the survey saying they would rather live in the moment, because there is this feeling of hopelessness when you're trying to figure out how you're going to afford a home or even rent. So thanks, Alexi. Appreciate it. And appreciate the work you do on our show. We're lucky to have you here.
Yeah, and I see how you get there. I see how the brain's working. I wonder if there are healthier outlets versus just spending on stuff that little small things. I don't know if I have the answer there, but I'm glad you brought it up, and thanks for your perspective, because I think that leads us to a far more interesting solution.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. Snow Basin opens today with 4 lifts expected to be up and running, giving skiers access to 9 groomed trails. A few diehards even camped out last night so they could be the first to make fresh tracks. Snowbird also plans to open today. Deer Valley and Sundance open this weekend. Provo City has a program that lets people help to pay a friend or a neighbor's utility bill. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Harris explains.
In Provo City, citizens are able to donate any amount of money to help pay for a friend or family member's utility bill. These donations are called Gifts of Light and have been used in Provo since 2018. To give someone a gift of light or make a donation to the Community Action Help Fund, Provo City says you can call 311 or visit Provo's customer service for more information. Alessandra Harris, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. As the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas enters another 24-hour extension, the Israeli government now reporting the release of 2 hostages that could be part of Hamas's promised 10 in this latest agreement. ABC's Anesta Lacotera has more.
Terms of the ceasefire appear to be the same. They remain the same, at least according to Qatar. So we are expecting 30 Palestinian prisoners to be exchanged for 10 Israeli hostages. It appears, our understanding is that it will be just 10 Israelis.
Hamas is also claiming credit for an attack on a bus stop near Jerusalem that killed 3 people yesterday. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 230 points. The NASDAQ headed in the other direction. It's down right now, 115 points. And our KSL weather, the gunky air we've had is about to go away. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
I almost chuckle when I think about this. Connecticut, who installed my water softener years ago, they offer a 10-year warranty. Like, who in the world offers a 10-year warranty on anything? I think what that does for me is it tells me they have supreme confidence in their product. And sure enough, I think I'm 6, maybe 7 years into owning that water softener. I've never had an ounce of problems. All I have to do is throw a little salt in the bin, and that is it. And I get soft water. And the benefits of soft water are so incredible. You may not know this, but Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country, which is why it's so common that you'll see water softeners in homes. And where I found it, and the reason my wife and I decided to make the investment is for our skin. We have very dry skin in our family, and soft water is a huge help. We've noticed a huge difference between when we had hard water and then now that we have soft water. It has made a huge difference in how our skin feels. It's soft. You don't have to bathe in lotion nearly as much. Give them a call. Connecticut of Utah, 801-576-8600 is the number, 801-576-8600, or you can check them out online and learn a lot about soft water at softwaterutah.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-330-1991. That's 1-800-330-1991. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-330-1991. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Hi, this is Doug Wright here with another experiment you can try at home regarding water. You can take 4 bags of water softener salt, lift 3 of the bags with one hand and 1 bag with your other hand. Yeah, I know. Now, if you're like most people, you'll probably find that 3 bags of salt weigh about 3 times as much as the 1 bag of salt. And that's an important thing to bear in mind when you're shopping for a water softener. You see, in our home, we have Kinetico, and the Kinetico water softeners are so well designed, they use only 1 bag of salt for every 3 bags that other water softeners use. Now, I can speak to this because we have had a Kinetico soft water system now in 2 different homes, and I'm not a fan of lifting those bags of salt. This is just one of the many reasons you really should look into Kinetico. Their number is 801-576-8600 or go to softwaterutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
All clear on I-15, both directions, between Ogden, Salt Lake, and Salt Lake to Provo, so that's good news. Midday traffic not too bad at all on our city streets. State Street a little bit busier, especially down by the Fashion Place Mall stretch, and still have some foothill slow intersections as you work your way north towards the U from 215. Celebrate the holidays with your family at Eccles Theater. Matt and Savannah, a Shaw Family Christmas, Friday and Saturday, December 8th and 9th. Tickets at liveeccles.com. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, one more day of bad air before a series of small storms starts moving through and the inversion goes away. We'll see periods of valley and mountain snow starting Friday, going through the weekend. We could see a few inches of snow in the valleys, several feet in the mountains. Right now, 32 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Wow, this opinion piece in the Deseret News written by Jay Evenson fits in nicely, but yet sadly, with what Dave and I were talking about this week about just the significant drop-off in youth population in the Salt Lake City area. And here's the piece is entitled, "Why Are Utah Schools Facing Declining Enrollment?"
And this will have a direct correlation to how many schools we have, future building, how are we going to service growing communities, and how far out can we look? Because right now when we're building, and we've talked to many people about this, when you're building a new school, you expect that thing to be in service for 50 years or longer, 50, 60, 70 years. But if population is declining as rapidly and stays on this pace, I think this is really going to affect where these schools and new schools get built. Jay Evenson joins us right now, Deseret News opinion editor. And Jay, why are Utah schools facing a declining enrollment?
Well, it really has to do with our declining fertility rate, and that's declining nationwide. You know, in the 2020 census, we had almost flat growth in this country from the 2010 census. And the fertility rate's been going down, and that was accelerated by the pandemic, but it's never really come back. And interestingly, I cite some sources in here that Utah's fertility rate is dropping faster than the national average. You know, we're so used to thinking of Utah as the state with the most babies. We're not leading in that category anymore. We're fourth, and we're falling pretty rapidly. And you can project how many school kids we're going to have in 5 years based on today's fertility rate. And you can see what's coming, and it's a decline.
Huge. I mean, in
Yes.
fact, you write in your opinion piece, in terms of real numbers, the state is expected to see a loss of about 40,000 school-aged youth by 2032.
Right.
Now, mind you, that is 2 years prior to our anticipated Olympic event that we'll host here in 2034. And we all know that's just right around the corner.
Right.
The Olympics coming back to Utah, just right around the corner. So 2032 is not that far off. And if we're going to have that significant of a loss of youth and students who are school aged, we got to start talking about this now, in my view.
Right. So the population overall is going to increase, and Utah is growing, but the number of children is not growing. It's actually declining. So it's an interesting dynamic. Now, the legislature has been moving us away from funding education through the income tax now for a while, and they've put different safeguards in place so that education funding will grow by inflation and by growth rate. And they're putting other things in place to kind of make sure that it grows even if the enrollment declines. But it's really going to be about flat. And I think that the big political issue of the next couple of years will be deciding, do we continue to increase our funding in education? Because the schools are always saying, well, Utah's dead last in per pupil expenditures. Here's our chance to increase that. Or do we cut taxes? Or do we funnel money into other programs instead because we're not going to need as much for education? This is going to be the big question, I think, of the next couple of years.
If we look at this number, 40,000 in the next 10 years or so, we could see a reduction. Putting that into really practical terms, that would be like closing 20 high schools. And those are large high schools, 2,000 student high schools. So I think it really speaks to, if we're looking into a crystal ball and we see these bonds that are coming up and looking for funding, I think this is where we're really going to have to figure out, well, is this hundreds of millions of dollars that we're spending in bonds, is this money well spent to build new high schools, new elementary schools, rebuild old ones? I think there's a real struggle here now when we see this declining rate.
Yeah, we need to start looking at facilities differently. Now, they'll argue that it costs the same to heat a school and air condition a school, no matter how many kids are there. So there's still a need for that funding. The other interesting thing here is that this is not going to be even from district to district. Alpine District is going to keep growing. Provo District is not going to be growing. So you may need more schools in some parts of the valley and less in other parts. Salt Lake City is in the process of closing 4 elementary schools. That's not an easy thing to do. People get upset when you have to do that. So we have to look at how we're growing, what types of facilities, and do we want to have more online learning to take the place of actual physical learning?
Well, and Jay Evenson with the Deseret News, he's the opinion editor there. He's writing about the declining youth population in not only in Salt Lake City, but really across Utah. 40,000 fewer young people in this state by the year of 2032. So what are we going to do with in terms of schools? And you raise a point that popped into my mind. This doesn't account for a potential shift down the road to more online learning. Now, every parent here's, oh my goodness, not again. We went through that in the pandemic. But remember, I mean, our kids are even more tech savvy than we'll probably ever be. So as they grow older, there may be a desire for them to put their kids in more of an online learning scenario. So we may not need as many brick and mortar buildings.
It's what happened during the pandemic was we were not prepared
to
move to online learning, and there was no real curriculum for that. And teachers found they were doing both online and and it just didn't work. If we approached it differently, it might work better. There's also a huge increase in homeschooling, and we now have the voucher program in Utah for private schools and homeschools, and all of those are taking students and money away from public schools. And so it's kind of exacerbating this decline in fertility.
We are not very adaptable. The way we view education, we've been educating kids largely the same way for decades and decades. And to this point, when a school is built, it is built for a maximum capacity. So as populations ebb and flow, to your point, it costs the same to heat and cool a big, large, fully filled high school as it does for a a much smaller one. But I think we keep designing and building the exact same structures that we have for decades. And I think having this conversation forces us into looking at different solutions. Perhaps a school can be built that can be expanded or contracted versus just, hey, we're going to put 100,000 square foot building right smack dab in this community.
People universally hate the portable classrooms, right? And we've seen those pop up around schools. They're actually probably the best answer that we have because you can build them quickly and you can take them down quickly. Yeah. I've often said, if we just had a blank slate, forget how we do education currently, and we sat down with a blank slate and said, let's design a perfect school system, I think we'd come up with something a lot different than what we have now.
I have an idea, but we're out of time. I'll share it with will you listen Monday?
Absolutely.
We're not
I
on
listen
Fridays.
every day.
You do, Jay. Thank you so much. Jay Evenson, the opinion editor for the Deseret News. Always wonderful to have you. And thanks for bumping your schedule back a day for the Olympic announcement. We had a busy day yesterday, super exciting. But I have a solution. In fact, a few years ago, I traveled to Oklahoma to look at a school design. And I brought it back to Utah, and I was pretty much laughed at. But maybe this is my moment to bring it back. So
it's genius.
All geniuses are laughed at first.
Exactly. I mean, what can I say? I'll bring it back Monday morning, and we'll talk more about it then.
Dave and Dujanovic.
2 new reasons to drop in on KSL on Friday mornings.
Starting in January, you'll hear Dave and Debbie Fridays at 9
And hear the movie show at lunch from 11 to 1
on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
Hey, Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
Get ready, Utah. It's Medicare annual enrollment period, so why not make enrolling easier with United Healthcare? Whether you choose our online tools or over-the-phone support, United Healthcare will help you compare options so you can choose a plan with confidence. This is Medicare made for Utah, trusted everywhere. Explore our wide range of plans by calling United Healthcare today at 1-855-MEET-UHC. That's 1-855-MEET-UHC. Annual enrollment begins October 15th and ends December 7th, so call today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You can't expect a policeman to unclog your drain. You shouldn't ask a teacher to change your oil. and you wouldn't want a fireman to clean your teeth. So why would we let politicians take over our internet service? That's just not what they do. Experience proves government-run networks mean waste, corruption, and failure. One example, called Utopia, promised to provide internet service in 16 cities within a few years. But over 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars later, a better name would be dystopia. They say it's almost complete. We say stop wasting our money. Go to nogovinternet.com and tell lawmakers enough is enough. Local tax dollars are precious, and public employees have plenty to do already. Don't let politicians mess with our internet. Paid for by nogovinternet.com, a project of Domestic Policy Caucus.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, federal authorities and a gun rights group are offering significant reward money for information in the theft of dozens of guns from a store in Cedar City. Second, 2 big health insurance companies are talking about a merger, but they'll have to satisfy federal regulators before they can go ahead. And third, Hamas claiming responsibility for another deadly attack on Israeli civilians. Right now, 32 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, Dave and I learned a lot about Ozempic, Mounjaro, when we did a 1-hour special for KSL News Radio just a couple of months ago during conference weekend. And there's been a lot of developments since you and I talked about it with Dr. Christopher Jones and also our very own Simone Cycli, who's been on Mounjaro, including some great news that Simone got very recently about her health.
Well, dieting is an obsession. In part, it's an obsession because we are really struggling with it here in America. We have an obesity problem. I think everyone has probably been on some sort of diet. This is a different kind of dieting, and this is by taking some medicine, taking a pill or an injection.
Now, we spoke extensively for that special with Dr. Christopher Jones with Intermountain Healthcare. We asked him a lot of questions, and we will repost the full podcast to my Facebook page, so you can check that out. I'll post it in just a few minutes to that page. But I want to play this part about the pitfalls that he talked to us about, because anytime you go on a weight loss drug, and let's remember the FDA just approved a version of Mounjaro for weight loss, so this is big news for a lot of folks who are looking to take it as a form of as an alternative to starving and exercising for hours and hours a day.
It is one of the criticisms of these drugs is that a lot of people are losing lean muscle, and that's not healthy. You will need to stay on these medicines for a long period of time to keep that weight off. And on this particular medicine, I've had a number of people say, you know what, doctor, I just forget to eat. When these medicines work so powerfully on the gut that it actually freezes it, or in other words, stops it from functioning appropriately, there can be significant side effects.
So the way this started is Ozempic has been a drug that is been used to treat diabetes for a very long time, for years. And what they found is one of the side effects was you just lose weight. So they started investigating and studying, okay, if we use this drug as a weight loss drug versus a diabetic treatment, how does it work? And then we got what's called Wegovy, and Wegovy is being used strictly for weight loss. Well, Mounjaro, same thing, being used to treat diabetics, and now they've said, okay, well, now you can study it and use it for just weight loss.
Simone Cycli, let's bring you back up to the microphone for this conversation. You have been on Mounjaro for quite some time, and you recently walked up to me in the newsroom and said, I've got some great news. And then I said, please share it with us. So talk to us, remind us about your journey, when it started, what it was, why you went on Mounjaro first, and then talk to us about what you've seen as a result.
Well, I'd been talking to my physician about options for weight loss. And I had been talking about gastric bypass, and she suggested trying Mounjaro, and she suggested it a couple of times before I actually said, okay, I'll give it a try. That was in April, And I've lost since then about 35 pounds. And the news that I had for you a couple of weeks ago was that I went to my doctor's office for a diabetes checkup, and the numbers that they pay attention to for diabetes are way down, including the A1C, which is what's important for those who are watching diabetes in their lives. And I just want to remind you that diabetes can lead to heart disease and chronic kidney disease, nerve damage, difficulty with oral health, vision, hearing, and even your mental health. So to know that that trigger of diabetes, that A1C, is way down, it's the best news that someone, I think, could ask for with this particular medication.
Mounjaro was, I guess maybe I don't know if it's a latecomer, but it was the newest drug that I've heard of. Is it a dosage issue or have you changed dosages over your time being on this?
I have. You begin with 2.5 milligrams per week. And it's kind of amazing because the very first dosage for me felt like, wow, why would you need anything else? Because it's almost instantaneous feeling the difference in how you're thinking about food, the fullness feeling. It was almost instantly.
You said the food noise went away.
Right. Yeah. Just the
you
constantly thinking about
you and I, we all have been in the newsroom for decades, and food noise in the newsroom, it's like food noise. It's like right in front of our eyeballs all the time. There's always donuts or somebody bringing in muffins and stuff. So we are constantly facing food noise all the time. But you say that just went away.
Well, yeah, it's just you find yourself not, and it's weird that you just find this empty, I don't know quite how to describe it, Debbie, but
you don't think about it.
Well, your mind is a little more clear, at least regarding food. That is how I have felt about it anyway.
Interesting.
You allow yourself perhaps just to go on with other things.
Remind us how you feel. Do you have any side effects? I mean, the wonderful side effect is you said you're down 35 pounds. I think the even better side effect of this is so positive that you are getting all of your vitals in line to where you feel like you're not in any sort of danger now to develop issues related to diabetes and sugar levels. But have you noticed, do you feel sick? Do you feel lethargic or anything like that, Simone?
I don't, but just last night, Debbie, if I eat too much, I am going to feel sick. If you eat too much, because this drug works on your gastric emptying. Your stomach empties more slowly.
Yeah.
So if you eat too much, yes, I do feel sick, and then a couple of other gastrointestinal issues, but nothing that I can't live with or work around.
So it leveled out, if I'm remembering. Early on, you may have felt a little something, but your body adapted fairly quickly?
I feel that it did, and you had asked about dosages. I did start with 2.5. And like I said, wondered why move up, but you do start to feel lessening of the effects. You move up to 5, then 7.5, and I'm on 10 now.
When we found out that Mounjaro was now being approved by the FDA for weight loss and not only just to treat and control diabetes, we wanted to do a follow-up report and bring in Simone Cycli from the newsroom. She's a awesome colleague who has offered a lot of advice and information about her journey using Mounjaro.
How about availability? Because it has become so popular, people are using it not just to treat diabetes, but also for weight loss. Have you had any problems trying to find it or get it?
I've had a couple of times where my pharmacy said, we don't have it right now, but they were able to find it, and they text me and let me know when it's available. I've never had to miss a dosage because of it, but I understand that with some dosages that is the case. It totally depends on what you're on and where you're getting.
And we have had that problem. It has been reported many times with Ozempic and Wegovy, which is basically very similar to Mounjaro from my understanding, but they have had shortages and dosage issues for people that are trying to lose weight. And then the diabetics are like, well, I really need it.
We have one question, and we have 15 seconds, Simone. What about how much it's costing?
Still pricey.
It is.
And I'm still lucky. But I did have to go through the process again of being approved for it. And I'm
Through
thinking
insurance.
that my insurance company may continue to do that.
Okay. All right. So a couple $100 a month?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple $100 a month. Thank you so much, as always, for
With
sharing your
insurance.
insight. Yeah,
Yeah.
with insurance. Thank you for being so open with us and our listeners. Every time you talk about it, people want to know more and more and more. So we'll make sure we post that podcast and this one on your favorite podcast platform. And also you can check it out. I'll post it on my Facebook page as well.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Salt Lake City's 2034 Olympic bid comes with some new goals for our air quality. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reports.
The city's got 3 goals ahead of a potential international spotlight. First, shift to 100% renewable energy by 2030. Second, reduce our carbon dioxide emissions by 50%. And finally, beef up public transit. We've made improvements over the past decade, and the Utah Clean Air Partnership hopes we'll give public transport a shot over the next 10 years.
KSL News Radio's Michael Commit. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. As the expected expulsion vote for embattled New York Republican Congressman George Santos looms, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is telling reporters that he expects that expulsion vote will take place tomorrow.
I expect that there'll be a bipartisan vote tomorrow, likely to expel George Santos, but at the moment that remains to be seen, and we'll see what happens on the floor.
Congressman Santos says he's being bullied, even though he's facing a series of criminal charges and a harsh report from the House Ethics Committee. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 255 points on the day right now, about 0.7%. And our KSL weather looks like we'll get rid of this crummy air, finally. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
on KSL News Radio.
When I heard Andy Farnsworth say the other day about how much weight he had lost on the SOTA weight loss program and how much it's brought down his A1C numbers,
Yeah.
I was blown away, Tim.
Well, that's what this program does.
It does. I mean, I lost 34 pounds in a little less than 3 months. And one of the things I loved about losing that weight is that my husband, too, was diagnosed with diabetes. And we wanted to eat healthier as a family. So SOTA sort of got me in the right frame of mind and taught me, this is the yogurt you buy. These are the ones you buy, not just for yourself and your husband, but for your kids, too.
And by the way, if you don't have a family surrounding you right now, you become part of the family at SOTA because you have a nutritionist who is right there every step of the way to make sure that even when you fall off the wagon for a little bit, they can help you get back on. They know where you've struggled. They know where you have made gains, and they can help you not just lose that weight, but keep that weight off. My daughter lost 42 pounds. They can help you too. Go to SOTAweightloss.com, spelled SOTA. Think Tim and Amanda. It is state-of-the-art.
As I look at my path to the NFL, I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. Having a supporting cast for me made all the difference, both on and off the field. And the thing I realized this last year was having that supporting cast made my dreams and my goals a reality. I prepare as best as I can for every situation on the football field. You know, that same mindset applies to me as a husband, as a dad. And being a new father with an 8-month-old child, I've realized that, you know, I now have a responsibility to my son and to my wife, just like I do my teammates. I spend all my time being a quarterback, and I need to find people that I can trust and rely upon. Deseret First Credit Union, they are those people that are spending all that time to help me manage and take care of my family. My name is Taysom Hill, and my why is faith, family, and football.
Have you heard? The Xfinity Mobile Black Friday sale is on now.
Don't miss out on a free line of unlimited for 2 years when you switch to Xfinity Internet. That's over $1,000 in savings. Plus, see how to get up to $800 off an eligible 5G phone. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services. Now through December 5th, new customers can get a free line of unlimited intro mobile for 2 years with Xfinity Fast Internet. Plus, see how you can save even more with up to $800 off the latest 5G phones. It's your chance to get connected to the fastest mobile service with 5G cellular and millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. This offer won't last. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply to service and devices. Actual internet speeds vary. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Reduced mobile speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
When Big O Tires goes big, a one-day sale isn't enough. Now through December 10th, everything is on sale. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meeks.
Hearing over the scanners that we have a multiple vehicle crash with possible injuries in Riverton. This is southbound Bangerter Highway approaching 134th South. Not a lot of other details, and there's also construction in the area, so definitely use caution. It's the season of giving at Murdoch Hyundai. Right now, get 0% for 5 years on Tucson or Santa Fe. When you walk through the doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, Murray, or online at murdochhyundai.com. From the KSL Traffic Center, I'm Ricky Meese.
KSL weather, one more day of lousy air before some small storms start moving the inversion out. We'll see periods of valley and mountain snow starting Friday, going through the weekend. And that could result in a few inches of snow finally in the valleys and several feet in the mountains. And right now, we're cloudy with a 32 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This is unusual, for sure. But Utah's top political story will unfold this afternoon at a bar, a very popular bar called the Sky Bar in downtown Salt Lake City, Dave. We're going to talk about the presidential candidate you don't know much about, but he is going to be at the Sky Bar this afternoon, and he's already making a ton of noise around the nation. It's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and sure enough, he's coming to Utah.
Are you a supporter of RFK Jr.?
Yeah. Actually, I'm a supporter big time.
I have followed him for several years, even before he decided to be a presidential campaign. I have always appreciated his honesty.
I've listened to every interview I can get my hands on.
I'm going RFK.
That was from a podcast from the New York Times called The Daily. Everything I know about RFK comes from this very article from the New York Times. I listened to about 30 minutes worth of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Information, but what I've learned is that he's not going to be president, but he could absolutely determine the presidency. He could be that spoiler that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, so a Quinnipiac poll puts him, 22% in popularity? Wow.
That's a monstrous number.
Biden at 39%, Trump at 36%. And he's certainly, as far as winning the independents, it's RFK Jr. 36% leading Trump's at 31% and Biden's 30%.
Yeah, and that's bad news for Trump. At least this poll makes it look like he's siphoning off votes from Trump, because a lot of recent polls have, in a head-to-head, Trump beating Biden. But RFK might just ruin things. And we've seen this before. Remember Ross Perot, 1992. I think he likely cost George H.W. Bush a second term, handing the victory over to a relatively unknown governor, Bill Clinton.
But the Sky Bar, that is unusual. I don't remember the last time. I've been reporting in Utah for 33 years, Boyd Matheson joining us now, of course, of Inside Sources. I don't remember a time when a presidential candidate made a swing through Utah and in the email to the media said, I'm going to be at the Sky Bar or any bar. Like, what about Gracie's? You know?
It is a little new, a little unusual, but this is all about ballot access. So
Exactly.
they've got to get signatures. He is appealing to a younger crowd, to be sure. And so strategically, I actually think it's a good move from Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I think you're right. I think it's weird, but it's good. And let me tell you, it caught my attention. So now we're talking about it, right? That's how this works. And so he's going to be at the Sky Bar. My understanding is this afternoon, starting at about 4:30 in the
4:30,
afternoon
yep.
for just a couple of hours. So he's going to miss all the cool nightlife that happens at this bar. I mean, this bar is just packed with the young crowd. They line up outside the door to
We're going
get
to trust
in.
you as the inside
Yeah.
source on
Well,
this, Debbie.
Hey, look, if you're going to report in Utah, you got to know all things about Utah. Not just the stuff in the suburbs, guys. You got to know about what goes on in
I
downtown
have zero
Salt
knowledge
Lake
of
City.
clubbing. My knowledge is zero.
But he's going to hit this bar, and you said it's a pretty smart move because first of all, I don't know if people are going to be drinking at that time, but he's certainly going to have enough of the young crowd, and the young crowd tends to skew independent.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be able to collect those signatures.
Yeah, he'll definitely be able to get the signatures that he needs to get on the ballot. And that's an interesting thing that we've been tracking a lot is the ballot access. It is complicated. Every state's a little different. For a lot of like a third party, so he's running independent, so a little different. Third party, I mean, it costs millions and millions of dollars, which is a result of the duopoly we have between the Democrats
Just
and
to
the
get on the
Republicans.
ballot?
Just to get on the ballot. Yeah,
Wow.
it's
I
it
didn't
is
know that.
crazy. And scary too, because the two parties love to use that as a way to keep everybody else out, so they don't have the problem that Dave mentioned of someone who might be a spoiler. I would actually say Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will probably siphon as many votes, if not more, away from President Biden than he would from President Trump. He has some really interesting crossover messaging, everything from pandemic-related things to environmental issues, where he spent a lot of his career. He has a fascinating story. Of course, he's a Kennedy, so he has that sizzle behind him as well, and that intrigue. And he has some messaging that's really strong. We've covered a few of his speeches on Inside Sources, and he has some very strong messaging, which is why you're seeing in that three-way matchup, you see him at 22%, which is a big number when you get to that three-way. And so he clearly has a few things that are resonating, particularly with people who are just fed up and exhausted and exasperated by both the Democrats and the Republicans. He is playing to that space, and he has a message.
Boyd, I have found it interesting, though, that he is a lifelong Democrat. He's kind of felt alienated by his party. He was very much wanting to challenge directly Joe Biden, much like his uncle Teddy Kennedy had with Jimmy Carter. But I look at it and I think this crossover appeal is intriguing because he is very progressive in some ways. Yeah. And I don't know if he's very conservative in others other than he's an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. And so he does have this interesting messaging component covering the spectrum of all of that. I think the other thing that's really intriguing about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is that he's talking to this really younger space, which neither President Biden or former President Trump can speak to at all. They're losing those in big ways. And you can tell that he's hitting a nerve because you had some of his own family came out on the Democratic side saying this is a bad idea, we don't support this, we don't want this. You have plenty on the Republican side saying this is bad, this will hurt President Trump. And so you've got both Democrats and Republicans saying he's dangerous, he's a threat, he could ensure another Biden term, he could ensure another Trump term. And I have to tell you, I love that. I love when the Democrats and the Republicans are really nervous that somebody, oh my goodness, has a different message that might resonate with the American people.
Isn't the goal, though, when you're running for president, to be more than a spoiler? It's actually, or do you just run for fun?
No. I don't think this is either spoiler, nor is this an ego campaign, or is this just for fun because you can. I think the most important thing we should talk about when people are running for any office is, can they change the conversation? I ask every single candidate that I ever interview, whether it's someone for president of the United States or the local city council, the question is, what will make all of this worth it? These are hard. This is a tough lifestyle. What will make all of that worth it, even if you run and lose? And, of course, everybody says, oh, we're in it to win it. But if they can't answer that question, what's going to make this worthwhile, even if I run and lose? And I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. actually has an answer to that in terms of, yeah, I'm going to do this. I don't think I'm going to win at this point. I'm going to go like crazy and see if I can't catch lightning in a bottle and make it happen. But it's going to be worth it because I'm going to change the dynamic of the parties. I'm going to change the course of the conversation in the country. And so if you're doing it, that's not playing a spoiler. That the political parties want us to believe you're just being a spoiler. Don't do that, because then the other side's going to win. And that's what they want us to believe, because that ensures the status quo of power remains the same with the same people that are already there.
We've heard the exact same arguments being made against no labels.
Exactly.
Do you think there's a chance that come debate time, it could be Trump, Biden, RFK, and maybe even a no labels candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all possibilities this year. We had Joe Lieberman on the show last week, of course, who is the founder of No Labels and someone who knows his way around some presidential politics, having run himself. Was, of course, vice presidential nominee with Al Gore. And he really believes that there is a path, not just to even get on the debate stage. He said this is one of those years where you could say it could be different. And guess what, folks? The last time a third party won a presidential contest in the United States of America, it mattered. It was Abraham Lincoln and a brand new party with a one-page platform that really changed the course of the country.
Boyd Matheson, thank you for joining us. RFK coming to Utah.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Finally, Friday. Now you can hear Dave and Dujanovic 5 days a week.
Starting in January, Dave and Debbie will be on Fridays at 9
Then the movie show from 11 to 1.
on KSL News Radio.
As the year winds down, the storylines are ramping up.
A mystery virus in dogs continues to baffle veterinarians.
Homelessness in Utah has been steadily increasing. Good accumulating snow expected in the mountains.
Keep up with these and the stories still to come. Listen to Tim and Amanda in the morning from 5 to 9. Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1. And on your drive home, get breaking updates and Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News from 3 to 7. All day, all season, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
At Shane Company, we believe everybody deserves to shine. That's why we create fine jewelry that's unique, personal, and crafted with care. Every engagement ring center stone is hand-set by our expert jewelers. Every diamond meets our superior standards for sparkle and beauty. Every gemstone is chosen for its spectacular color. And our free lifetime warranty is the best in the industry. 'Tis the season to shine. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Home for the holidays. Sounds nice, doesn't it? What if your home excluded summer yard work and winter snowblowing and was a one-level luxurious townhome with spacious rooms? Sounds even better. Preview your new home for the holidays at an open house December 18th at Nielsen Homes' newest single-level luxury townhome in Bluffview. These homes are move-in ready. No yard work, snow blowing, and close to what you love and enjoy with easy commutes. Experience the Nielsen Homes difference of what spacious single-level townhome floor plans and no stairs look like. Nielsen Homes has been building across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years, accommodating all the things you need combined with the things you love. Ask about end-of-year promotional savings. Experience your new home for the holidays at their open house event December 18th, 5 to 7 p.m. Pictures with Santa and warm churros at the newest Nielsen community, 227 North, 3830 West Point. See what low-maintenance, luxury townhome living can be. Visit Nielsen Homes Communities at nielsenhomes.com. NILSON homes.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've got to tell you about the shopping experience that Dee and I had the other day at the Western Nut Company. First of all, when you walk into, I like to call it the mothership, the store right there where all of the magic happens at 434 South on 3rd West. You walk through the door and the smell of the nuts that are being roasted right there in the back area and the decor, it is just a holiday experience. And the great selection, from Paul's Brittles to traditional Western Nut gift boxes that are all pre-wrapped, ready to go, to even the beautiful decorations. And they're playing an old music box that just puts you in the mood for gift giving this holiday season. And be sure to pick up some treats for yourself. And by the way, Dee and I always mail things back to Dee's relatives in Missouri. They do the mailing right there. Look for the kiosks that are going to be popping up all over the place. You can also go online at westernnut.com. You're going to love it.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts